Welcome back to Hamza's Advocacy. Alright? It's been a little bit. My last video, well, I talked about a lot of things, but not the video I talked about, but let's talk about the other video. I actually went to, if you haven't seen it, I went to the rallies for the No Kings last Saturday. Eventful at the least. Now, I don't entirely agree with everything that they do at these rallies. I don't agree with everybody getting together and protesting. It does really, what does it do? It doesn't do much of anything. However, it's good to get out there and to network. I like to see people. I like to watch people, what their perspective is. Their body language shows everything that they believe in. Their actions show who they are. Their words say nothing. So everybody out there chanting and yelling the things that they're yelling doesn't really prove who they are. Okay? So really, my ultimate goal is to get to these rallies next time, to get to these rallies and to basically start informing. Okay? I'm going to start taking information with me to start forming or informing individuals about certain aspects of the Constitution. I want to teach people about the 14th Amendment. I want to teach people about the fact that something I haven't really talked about, and it's because I've only been talking about my case. And what I want to teach people is that they don't realize that everything that's happening here in America right now is constitutional. Okay? Everybody is a 14th Amendment United States citizen. All right? A United States citizen was created in the 14th Amendment. And before that, there was a state citizenship. That was before the Civil War and everything that happened there. And basically what happened was the slaves were freed. Once the slaves were freed, they were beaten and hung and raped and murdered. And there wasn't anything that these people could do. They didn't have any rights. They didn't have any rights the way that a free white person did. Now, the definition of free white person is very interesting too, because it doesn't mean exactly what you think it means. It doesn't mean a Caucasian race. It's if you want to, go look it up in the Black Laws Dictionary. One second, I'm going to go get my Black Laws Dictionary. Yeah, I should have been more prepared, but that's okay. This isn't scripted. No, this is the deluxe version of the 4th edition. And this is a massive book, okay? Let me pull up Free White Person. This is going to blow your mind. Okay. The reason that this is important is because everybody was a free white person. You were a state citizen before the 13th Amendment and the slaves were freed. They created the United States citizen category to be able to give the freed slaves a spot in society, in America, in the society of America. And with the United States citizen came all the other things such as the IRS, the police department, CIA, FBI, all these other administrative agencies. Everything was to go ahead and protect the United States citizen. It really wasn't that. It was more so to control the United States citizen, to take away your rights and to turn them into privileges, okay? Everything became a privilege once you willfully said you were a United States citizen. Okay? Everybody, listen to this. Free white persons, referred to in Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1870, has meaning naturally given to it when first used in one state or one statute 103 C3, meaning all persons belonging to the European races then commonly counted as white, and their descendants, including such descendants in other countries to which they have immigrated. 1 second. Okay. Everybody is coming home. That's okay. It included all European Jews, more or less intermixed white people of Celtic, Scandinavian, Teutonic, Iberian, Latin, Greek, and Slavic descent. It included Magyars, I might have said that wrong, but whatever, Lapps and Finns, and the Basque and Albanians. It includes the mixed Latin, Celtic, Iberian, and Moorish inhabitants of Spain and Portugal, the mixed Greek, Latin, Phoenician, and North African inhabitants of Sicily, and the mixed Slav and Tatar inhabitants of South Russia. It does not mean Caucasian race. So, it says right here, free white persons does not mean Caucasian race. This is where systemic racism comes from. Okay? White doesn't mean white, or white doesn't mean Caucasian, and black doesn't mean a man with darker pigment, or melanin, or however you want to look at it. It does not mean Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabited Persia. A Syrian or Asiatic birth and descent will not be entitled to become a naturalized citizen of the United States as being a free white person. Example, parte, this is just cases, so you got cases here. That's where these definitions come from. They come from case law, okay? So then you go and you read the Naturalization Act, and you go ahead and start putting these things together. Well, in the Constitution, you have the preamble says, we the people. Now, then you go to the Naturalization Act, it talks about persons. And then you go to the other slave enactment in the Constitution that was amended into the Constitution. It talks about people, or person. My apologies, person. So now you have people versus person. So what is people, what is person? People were the free white persons, people were, basically free white persons before the 14th Amendment. And then everybody after that, free white persons, doesn't exist because nobody's a state citizen anymore. Everybody becomes a 14th Amendment United States citizen. And basically, the way that I see this is, well, in the Bible, again, the biblical literature, you don't have to be religious to go ahead and read the Bible, to understand the Bible, and just understand that God says you can only control what you create, okay? So they couldn't control God's creation, but what they could do was get you to willfully say that you were something that you are not. And nowhere in the Bible does it say you have to be a United States citizen, okay? You have willfully devoted your life to being a United States slave because you are a United States citizen. Anyways, this can be much more clear. I'm going to write a book. I'm working on a book right now. I'm using a lot of resources to put this together. Some resources from another individual who's done a lot of research, so I will be giving him credit. However, I'm going to write it in my own words, and I'm going to put together a pretty well thought out, articulated book. Short, simple, sweet. So, yeah, anyways, that's what I want to do. I want to start informing and teaching others that they are the reason that all this stuff is happening to them, no matter if they protest or whatever they may do. It's going to continue to happen to them because they're United States citizens. So, the First Amendment all the way to the Constitution doesn't belong to anybody. Everything after the 14th Amendment and after that, that's what belongs to United States citizens. And so, there you go. And I believe that's why a lot of this stuff is happening today, because they want everybody to be a United States citizen so they can control them, okay? And if they can't control them, they don't want them here, whatever. Anyways. So there's that. There's the King's Rally. It was interesting. I marched. I went ahead and I stayed the full length of that. And carrying on, last week, well, I believe I talked about the fact that I have my case coming up November 5th. Okay, I'm highly looking forward to it. Like I said before, it's a motion to dismiss, and this motion to dismiss, I plan on arguing it and getting the motion to dismiss to be dismissed so we can continue to trial. I want this case to go to trial. I want to talk in front of my peers. I have every right to do so. Okay? And, well, what's going to happen? Well, what did happen? Okay. The reason I got on here was because my number one rule is, like Sun Tzu said, know thy enemy. I don't have that book here, but know thy enemy. Okay? So what I did last week, I actually had a assignment for my political science class, and this assignment requested me to either get a police ride along, to observe a case in the courthouse, and to talk to this, or to interview, not the state's attorney, maybe it was the state's attorney, but I have to pick two of those. And of course, the one I picked was to interview the state's attorney and to go and watch a court session. All right. So what did I do? I went 3 days, actually. I went to one case, actually 2 cases I went to, and they were with the same judge that's going to be overseeing my case. And it was, it's right here. It was fascinating because I got to meet the judge. There was this individual, his name was Kevin. He was the bailiff. I got to talk to the bailiff for quite a while in that session. There was one at 10 o'clock, one at 1 o'clock. Both of them were continued, and wasn't really anything important other than that I got to meet certain people, such as the state's attorney, one of the state's attorney, and Kevin, the bailiff. And then Kevin introduced me to Starwalt, which is going to be the judge I will be standing in front of. She seemed really nice and kind and sweet. She didn't seem very biased. However, she doesn't know that I will be standing in front of her November 5th. She may recognize me, which is fine. If she recognizes me, I did not talk about any of the merits of the case, so I'm good there. It was just straightforward about school. Anyways, I went to a trial last week, and it was on, well, I don't even need this stuff. I wanted to show one thing. The trial last week was fascinating because, there it is. The trial last week was fascinating because the state's attorney was like, this stuff's boring. If you come up to 4B, we're picking a jury at 1:30. At 1:30, we're going to be picking a jury. So I got to watch that. And they brought in 44 people. They interviewed all 44 people, asked them very strategic and particular questions. I got to watch the defendant's attorney, which her name was Lawless, and I watched the state's attorney, and I got to watch them strike out certain individuals they did not want in the box. They ended up coming down to 14 jurors. They put the 14 jurors in the box, and then at the end of the trial, they dismissed 2 of the jurors and brought it down to 12 jurors. That I still don't really understand, okay? But the case was about a gun charge. So this individual, Mr. Coleman, was at it was the 4 Tavern. I think that's what, I don't know bars around here. The number 4 Tavern or something like that here in Danville. And apparently what had happened was he went in the bar. Well, he went into the restroom, and I saw the video. He went into the women's restroom at 1:30 a.m. before the bar closed. He used the restroom, left, and then somebody else came in there, which was put on the witness stand as a witness. And she said that she walked in the bathroom at 2 a.m., and found a weapon, which was a gun, on the right side of the sink. Okay? And so it had been 30 minutes since Mr. Coleman had left the bar. So it was a fascinating case overall. There's a burden of proof, and really, they couldn't prove that Mr. Coleman had the gun other than the forensic specialist who came in and said that there was not any fingerprints on the trigger of the weapon. There was no fingerprints on the slide nor on the magazine. But there was DNA on the pistol, and it was a Weston. It was a Smith & Wesson. And so there was DNA on it that was matched 63% of Coleman's DNA. Okay? Now, it was a fascinating thing to watch because basically what the forensic scientist said was that somebody could shake your hand and your DNA could shed, your skin can shed, and somebody can have your DNA on their hand and then they can touch something else and then that something else could have your DNA. So that was what the Lawless tried to argue and tried to convince the jury of. Overall, it was a fascinating case. It was 3 days. It was very exhausting, and I got to see some things. It was wow. I mean, like, the opening was fascinating because the rhetoric was not like anything you see on TV ever. It was very, I want to say, it wasn't very prepared. Okay, it wasn't as strong as you see on TV. Everything you see on TV is a script. You could tell what they were doing in person was not a script. Okay, and so it was beautiful to watch because it made it more human. Okay, and the closing wasn't. The rhetoric was really good in the closing. I will say that. There was one guy's name was Reynolds for the state's attorney's office. See, the state's attorney got up and spoke, and then Lawless got up and counter argued that, and then they went ahead and sent up. There was two state's attorneys there, so that I didn't find fair. Another thing I did not find fair was that out of the 44 jurors, there was only two persons of color. Out of the 14 jurors, there was only one person of color. So, but it's not about empathy and sympathy. It's about the burden of proof. So the jury must have saw that Mr. Coleman, well, the state presented enough evidence to prove Mr. Coleman guilty. And so, yeah, I thought I had some, promise I'm not snoring anything. I've been having runny nose. It's been annoying. Yeah, see, it's just a glare. Okay, that's just being funny. Anyways, yeah, they found him guilty on count 1 of concealed carry, guilty on count 2 with possession of a firearm, guilty on count 3 because Mr. Coleman already had a felon, and then guilty on count 4 because he did not possess a FOID card at the time of the weapon being found. Okay, so now there's going to be a sentencing 12, 18, 25, so I plan on going back to that. It's at 2:30. One thing I wanted to show was this. I had a little fun. I drew Mr. Coleman as he was being found as guilty. I was really sad for him because I was praying for him. I talked to him personally. I talked to everybody. Only people I did not talk to was the state's attorneys in these trials. They kept on giving me the weird look. But it was so fascinating because even the judge was like, "Scholar, come up here." And he brought me up to the stand and we chatted for a moment. This is when the jurors were in the back and they were trying to make a decision based on the evidence that was presented to the court. And so that was all fascinating. And I got to know the judge. I got to meet the judge, got to meet bailiffs, I got to meet attorneys. I got to get comfortable in the courthouse. I got comfortable with the security guards. They're probably going to be shocked when I walk in there with my suit and tie. It comes in 2 weeks. So I just wanted to make a video because I haven't made a video in a while. And as you see, I'm not in my gym, which is great. I actually finally got a desk. Look at my desk. Looks like it's been here forever. Those are some of my wonderful books. There's my wonderful plants up there. Got a lot going on here. See, that's me. My son drew me. That's my boy. I don't care to show him. I know a lot of people are against showing things on the internet and all this good stuff. But, nah, I'm okay. I love my little space here. I love my little cubicle. I'm so happy. I'm getting a tripod coming in. This is all my stuff. I love this right here. This is one of my favorites. This talks about Without Prejudice. This talks about the UCC3. volunteer work at the church. Here's one of my favorite things said by Jordan Peterson. He says, our goal in life, and I've been sticking to this ever since I went to school, and it says, there's a more elaborated aim than being a good person. I want to be able to constrain malevolence and the work to decrease suffering. Be precise in your speech. Jordan Bennett Peterson. Yeah. He's my hero. He's my dude. I wouldn't have made it this far without Peterson. And that's why I have this big confliction between wanting to do psychology and wanting to do sociology. Really, I may just go into sociology because my hero got me into sociology. Anyways, I'm just talking now, and I got assignments to do, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about everything that's going on. I haven't made a video in like a week or so. I've been busy. I'll be busy next week preparing for the case. I'll be making videos throughout the week because I need to practice. But I also need to prepare, print, make sure I have copies of things. So, anyways, good talking to you. Hamza out. Peace. Have a blessed weekend. Don't work too hard. Work smart. I'll talk to you soon.